The woman was already crying when Raphael reached the grave. He stopped 10 feet back. Wind cut through the headstones, cold enough to sting. She didn't hear him. Her shoulders shook. Yellow rubber gloves hung loose on her hands. Navy jumpsuit stained with bleach. A baby pressed against her chest, wrapped in a thin blanket that looked like it had been washed too many times. She whispered something to the stone. Raphael couldn't make out the words, but the way her voice cracked, that sound he knew. Grief had a texture. This was fresh, raw. His son's grave. A stranger kneeling there like she had any right. Raphael's jaw tightened. The tattoos crawling up his neck felt hot under the morning sun. He scanned the area. No one else. No cars except his SUV parked by the gate. Just her. Just the baby. And his instincts screaming this wasn't random. Hi viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. He took a step forward. Gravel crunched under his shoe. She flinched. Turned. Saw him. Fear flashed across her face. Instant, animal fear. The kind people get when they know they're looking at something dangerous. She clutched the baby tighter. Started to stand. Her legs shook. I didn't. Her voice came out strangled. I didn't expect anyone else. Raphael didn't move closer. Didn't smile. Just watched her the way a wolf watches movement in the dark. Why are you crying at this grave? She blinked. Tears caught in her lashes. The baby squirmed. Made a small sound like a kitten. She swallowed. I don't know how to explain it. Try. The word landed like a stone in water. She looked at the headstone. Back at him. Her mouth opened. Closed. She was deciding something. Calculating whether truth or lies would save her. Finally, she whispered, I think we're connected. You and me. Through this. Raphael's blood went cold. Connected. No one used that word by accident. Not in his world. Not standing over his son's body. Who sent you? No one. She said it fast. Too fast. Then louder, like saying it again would make it real. No one sent me. I work here. I clean the cemetery. I was just. You don't clean graves crying. Raphael cut in. His voice dropped lower. Quieter. The kind of quiet that made grown men confess. So tell me again. Why are you here? The baby started to cry. Soft at first, then louder. She bounced him, shushed him, but her eyes never left Raphael's face. My boyfriend's buried 3 rows down, she said. I was visiting him when I saw this grave, and her breath hitched. I felt something, like the world was telling me to stop, to look, to remember. Raphael glanced past her shoulder. 3 grave down, another young name carved in stone. Another life ended too soon. What was his name? Darian. She said it like it hurt. Darian Cross. The name didn't mean anything to Raphael, but the pattern did. Young men dying in this city. Caught between gangs and desperation. Used up and thrown away. He looked at her again. Really looked. She was young. Mid-20s maybe. Blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. Dark circles under her eyes. Cheekbones sharp from skipping meals. Hands calloused from work no one noticed. She wasn't lying about the grief. That much he could read. But she was hiding something else. How did he die? Her face went pale. Does it matter? It does to me. She looked down at the baby. Kissed the top of his head. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. He refused to help a gang. They beat him. Put him in the hospital. He never woke up. Raphael's jaw flexed. He knew which gang. He knew how they operated. Fear and violence wrapped in threats no one could escape. And you, he asked, what are you running from? Her eyes snapped up. I'm not running. Everyone's running from something. The baby cried harder. She turned away from Raphael, rocked the child. I'm something low and broken. Her whole body looked like it might collapse. Raphael watched her, studied the way she held that baby like he was the only thing keeping her alive. The way her hands trembled. The way she kept glancing at the grave like she owed it an apology. And then she said it, the thing that changed everything. I come here because your son's grave reminds me of everything this world took from us. Raphael froze. Your son. She knew. She knew whose grave this was. Before he could respond, a voice sliced through the air behind them. Well, looks like you finally got caught. What would you do if a stranger knew your darkest loss before you even told them? The woman in the expensive coat walked toward them like she owned the ground beneath her feet. Sharp heels clicked on gravel. Clipboard pressed against her chest like a weapon. Maya Not, cemetery operations manager. Raphael had seen her before. Never liked her. She ignored him completely. Focused on the woman with the baby. I knew it, Marianne said, voice dripping with satisfaction. I knew you were stealing time, crying on the clock, bringing your personal disasters to work. The woman, Kalia, Raphael would later learn, went stiff. Fear bloomed across her face. Not the kind she'd shown when she saw Raphael. This was worse. This was the fear of someone who had nowhere else to go. I wasn't, Kalia started. Save it. Marianne waved a hand. You think I don't notice? You disappear every morning. Show up late. And now this. She gestured at the baby like he was evidence in a trial. Children aren't allowed on cemetery grounds during working hours. Liability issue. Kalia's voice cracked. I didn't have anyone to watch him. The sitter canceled and I couldn't. Not my problem. The baby wailed louder. Kalia bounced him, tried to quiet him, but her hands are shaking too hard. Marianne's eyes gleamed. You're getting written up. Again. And if you don't like it, there's plenty of people who'd kill for your job. Raphael stood perfectly still, watching, calculating. His anger was a quiet thing, the dangerous kind. Marianne finally noticed him. Her expression shifted, smoothed out. She smiled. The fake kind people use when they think someone has money. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. She turned to Raphael. I didn't mean to disturb you. This employee has been problematic, unreliable, emotional. She lowered her voice like she was sharing a secret. People like her always are. People like her. Raphael's gaze sharpened. What do you mean by that? Marianne blinked, confused by the edge in his tone. I just mean single mothers, uneducated workers, the kind who bring drama everywhere they go. The cemetery deserves better representation. The wind stopped. Birds went silent. Even the baby quieted for a moment, like the world itself was holding its breath. Raphael took one step forward. Just one, but it was enough to make Marianne's smile falter. You have no idea who you're talking to, he said, voice soft, deadly. Marianne's face paled. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. Do you know whose grave this is? She looked at the headstone. Read the name. Shook her head. Raphael let the silence stretch. Let her squirm. The boy buried here, he said slowly, is my son. Marianne's clipboard slipped. She caught it. Barely. Oh my God, I didn't know. Clearly. Raphael's eyes didn't leave hers. Because if you did, you'd know this cemetery is funded by the Moretti Foundation. Which means every employee, every contract, every stone. He paused. Belongs to me. The color drained from Marianne's face. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Sir, please, I didn't. Fire her. Kalia gasped. Marianne's eyes went wide with relief. Then Raphael added, not her. He pointed at Marianne. You. Marianne stumbled back. No, please. I have a mortgage. I have bills. You should have thought about that before humiliating a woman doing honest work in front of her child. Marianne's face crumpled. She tried to speak, to beg, but Raphael had already turned away, dismissed her like she was nothing. Security will escort you out, he said without looking back. Today, Marianne made a choke sound. Then she ran, heels clicking frantically on the gravel path. Gone. The cemetery fell silent again. Kalia stood frozen. Baby quiet now, staring at Raphael like she didn't know whether to thank him or run. Raphael turned to her. His expression softened, just slightly. You don't have to worry about her anymore. Kalia's voice shook. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. What? Raphael looked at his son's grave, then at the baby in her arms. The child with dark eyes and skin the color of warm earth. A baby who'd never asked to be born into this mess. Because someone has to, he said quietly. Kalia's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. She just held her son tighter and whispered, I don't even know your name. Raphael Moretti. Her breath caught. She knew the name. Everyone did. And you are? He asked. Kalia Monroe. Raphael nodded, committed it to memory. Then he looked at the graves stretching out around them. All those names, All those lies cut short. "Walk with me," he said. It wasn't a question. "Would you trust a man who just destroyed someone's life to protect yours?" They walked between rows of headstones. Kalia stayed 2 steps behind, like distance might keep her safe. The baby, she called him Lucan, had finally stopped crying. Just watched the world with wide, curious eyes. Rafael didn't speak right away. He let the silence build. People always filled silence, usually with truth. Kalia broke first. "You didn't have to help me back there," she said. "I'm nobody." "You're somebody to that child." She looked down at Lucan, kissed his forehead. "Yeah, I'm all he's got." "What about family?" "Don't have any." She said it flat. No emotion, like she'd used up all her feelings years ago. "Parents died when I was 18. Car accident. No siblings. Darian's family wanted nothing to do with me when they found out I was pregnant." "What?" "Because I'm white." She said it without bitterness. Just fact. "They blamed me for him getting involved with the wrong people. Said if he hadn't been trying to impress me, he would have stayed safe." Rafael's jaw tightened. "That's not how it works." "I know." She adjusted Lucan on her hip. "But grief makes people mean." They walked past a section of older graves. Stone angels with broken wings. Names worn away by weather and time. Rafael stopped at a bench. Gestured for Kalia to sit. She hesitated, then sat. Exhaustion won out over fear. Rafael stood. Looked out at the city skyline beyond the cemetery walls. Buildings rising like teeth against the morning sky. "You said Darian refused to help a gang," Rafael said. "Which one?" Kalia went quiet. "I don't know if I should. I already know." His voice was calm. "I'm asking if you know." She swallowed. "The West Side crew. They wanted him to be a lookout." He said no. They didn't like that. Rafael's expression went dark. He knew the West Side crew. Knew who ran them. Knew the chain of command that led all the way up to people with more blood on their hands than Rafael would ever have. How long ago? 2 years since the beating. 1 month since he died. Rafael did the math. 2 years ago, right around the time his own son was killed. Different crews. Same war. Same city eating its children alive. He turned to Kalia. "Why were you really at my son's grave?" She looked up at him, eyes red but steady. "I told you. I felt connected." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." She stood, faced him. "I don't know why I stopped there. I don't know why I started crying. I saw his name, Luca Moretti, and I thought about Lucan, about how close their names are, about how they're both just gone, or almost gone." Rafael went still. "What did you say?" "Their names. Luca and Lucan. Where did you get that name?" Kalia's brow furrowed. Darian picked it. He said it was after someone who protected him when he was a kid. Someone from a shelter in... She trailed off. In Sicily, the world tilted. Rafael's heart slammed against his ribs. Sicily, the orphanage, the boy with the broken arm and the fierce eyes. The boy Rafael had protected from older kids. The boy he'd paid to educate, to get out. Darian. He'd call himself Dari back then. Rafael had lost track of him when he moved to the States. Assumed he'd made it, built a life. He was wrong. Kalia watched Rafael's face change, saw something crack open behind his eyes. "What is it?" she whispered. Rafael's voice came out rough. "I knew him." "Knew who?" "Darian." He looked at her. "I knew your boyfriend. I protected him when he was a child. I paid for his education. I gave him money to start fresh in America." Kalia's face went white. "That's not possible." "It is." Rafael's hands curled into fists. "And I failed him. I should have kept him safe." The baby started crying again. Kalia didn't move, just stared at Rafael like he was a ghost. "You're lying," she breathed. "I don't lie about the dead." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "If you knew him, why didn't you save him?" "Because I didn't know he needed saving until it was too late." The wind picked up, leaves scattered across graves. Kalia sank back onto the bench. Lucan wailed. She didn't try to quiet him this time, just let him cry. Rafael stood there, watching this woman fall apart. This stranger who wasn't a stranger at all. Their lives had been tangled together for years. They just hadn't known it. "Who killed him?" Rafael asked quietly. Kalia looked up. "What?" "The men who put Darian in the hospital. Do you know their names?" She shook her head. "The police didn't care. Didn't investigate. Just wrote it off as gang violence. I'll find them. What? Her voice broke. What difference does it make now? Raphael crouched down, looked her in the eye. Because the same people who killed Darian are the reason my son is dead. And I don't let people get away with taking what's mine. Kalia stared at him, searching his face for something. Truth maybe, or mercy. She found neither. Just cold, quiet purpose. What do you want from me? She whispered. Raphael stood. Nothing, but I'm going to give you something. What? Protection. Before she could respond, footsteps crunched behind them. Raphael turned. A man in a security uniform approached. Young, nervous. Mr. Moretti, the guard said. We removed Ms. Holt from the premises, but she's demanding to speak with you. Says you can't fire her without. She's gone, Raphael cut in. If she comes back, call the police. The guard nodded. Left. Raphael turned back to Kalia. She was staring at him like he'd just dropped a bomb. You really own this place, she said. I own a lot of things. Why didn't you tell me who you were? You didn't ask. Lucan's cries faded to whimpers. Kalia rocked him, her mind clearly spinning. I need to get back to work, she finally said. You don't work for Marianne anymore, Raphael said. You work for me. Kalia's eyes went wide. What? You're the new cemetery liaison. Better pay, better hours, daycare covered. I don't. It's not a request, Raphael said. You're under my protection now. That means you're under my employment. Understand? Kalia opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Lucan, then back at Raphael. Why are you doing this? Raphael's expression darkened. Because I owe Darian a debt, and debts in my world don't die when people do. He turned, started walking toward his SUV. Kalia called after him. What happens now? Raphael stopped, looked back over his shoulder. Now, he said, now I find out who gave the order to hurt Darian, and I make sure they understand what it costs to touch someone under my protection. His eyes were cold, empty, even if they're already dead. Would you accept help from a man whose protection might be more dangerous than the threat itself? Kalia didn't see Raphael for 3 days, but she felt him everywhere. On Monday, her paycheck arrived, triple what she used to make. A note attached. Report to main office Thursday 9 a.m. On Tuesday, a woman knocked on her apartment door. Professional, kind, handed her an envelope. Daycare voucher, fully paid, 6 months in advance. On Wednesday, the landlord called. Said her rent was covered for the year. Wouldn't say by who, but Kalia knew. She should have felt grateful. Instead, she felt trapped. Thursday morning, she dressed Lucan in his cleanest onesie, packed his diaper bag, took the bus to the cemetery's main office, a sleek building she'd never been inside before. Security let her through without question, like they'd been expecting her. The receptionist smiled. Ms. Monroe, Mr. Moretti is waiting. Kalia's stomach twisted. She followed the receptionist down a hallway lined with photographs. Old family pictures, men in suits, women in black dresses, a history written in funerals. They stopped at a door. The receptionist knocked. A voice answered from inside. Send her in. The door opened. Raphael sat behind a massive desk. No suit jacket today, just a black button down, sleeves rolled up, tattoos visible all the way to his wrists. He was looking at a computer screen, didn't glance up when she entered. Sit, he said. Kalia sat. Lucan squirmed in her arms. She bounced him gently. Raphael finally looked up. His eyes went to the baby first, then to Kalia. How's the daycare? I haven't used it yet, Kalia said. I don't know if I should. Why not? Because I don't know what you want from me. Raphael leaned back in his chair. I told you. Protection. Nobody protects people for free. Smart. He almost smiled. You're right. There's always a cost. Kalia's heart sank. What do you want? Information. About what? Darian. Raphael pulled a file from his desk, slid it toward her. I need you to tell me everything you know about the last 6 months of his life. Who he talked to, where he went, who threatened him. Kalia stared at the file. Didn't touch it. Why? Because I'm going to kill the people responsible. The air in the room went cold. Kalia's hands tightened around Lucan. You can't just. I can't, Raphael interrupted. And I will. The only question is whether you help me or not. I don't want blood on my hands. It's already there. His voice was quiet. The moment they killed Darian, you became part of this. You just didn't know it yet. Kalia looked down at Lucan, his tiny fingers wrapped around hers. Innocent, unaware of the world being built around him. What if I say no? She whispered. Rafiel's expression didn't change. Then you're on your own. No job, no daycare, no protection. And when the people who killed Darian find out you're asking questions, and they will, you'll have no one to call. Kalia's throat tightened. That's not protection. That's blackmail. Call it what you want. Rafiel stood, walked around the desk, leaned against it. But understand something. The men who hurt Darian don't stop. They don't forget. And if they find out he had a son, they'll come for Lucan too. Just to make sure no one grows up looking for revenge. Kalia's blood went ice cold. You're lying. Am I? She searched his face, found no trace of deception, just cold, hard certainty. Why would they care about a baby? Because fear only works if you erase the future, Rafiel said. Dead men can't talk. Dead families can't fight back. Lucan started crying. Kalia rocked him, but her hands shook. Rafiel's voice softened, just slightly. I'm not your enemy, Kalia, but I'm the only thing standing between you and people who are. She looked up at him. What if I tell you everything and you still can't stop them? Then at least you'll die knowing someone tried. The words landed like a punch. Kalia stood, legs unsteady. I need to think. You have until tomorrow. She turned toward the door, stopped, looked back. If I help you, she said quietly, and you kill them, does that make me a murderer too? Rafiel's eyes were unreadable. No, it makes you a survivor. Kalia left without another word. If someone offered you safety in exchange for revenge, would you take it? Kalia didn't sleep that night. She sat in her apartment, tiny one-bedroom, cracks in the walls, and stared at Lucan sleeping in his crib. His chest rose and fell. Peaceful, unaware, she thought about Darian, the way he used to smile, the way he'd hold her hand and promise they'd make it out, build something better. He'd been so sure, and now he was dirt in the ground. At 3 a.m., she made her decision. By 9 a.m., she was back in Rafiel's office. He looked up when she entered. No surprise in his eyes, like he'd known she'd come. I'll help, Kalia said, but I have conditions. Rafiel gestured to the chair. Sit. She sat. Lucan was at daycare. First time she'd left him with strangers. It felt like cutting off a limb. What conditions? Rafiel asked. You don't hurt anyone in front of me. You don't tell me details. And when it's over, you leave me alone. Rafiel considered this. Agreed. On one condition of my own. What? You tell me the truth. All of it. No matter how small. Kalia nodded. Deal. Rafiel pulled out a voice recorder. Set on the desk. Start with the day Darian refused the gang, he said. Kalia took a breath and started talking. She told him everything. How Darian worked at a warehouse. How men approached him one night. Offered him money to watch a corner. Call of cops showed up. Easy work. Darian said no. They came back a week later, this time with threats. Told him if he didn't help, they'd burn down the warehouse. Get him fired. He still said no. The third time, they didn't ask. They grabbed him outside his apartment, threw him in a van, beat him for 2 hours, left him in an alley. Someone found him, called 911. He was in a coma for 6 weeks. Woke up once, squeezed Kalia's hand, whispered, I'm sorry. Then he was gone. Kalia's voice broke as she finished. Rafiel didn't interrupt, just listened, recorded every word. When she stopped, he asked, did he ever mention names? One, Kalia said. He called the leader Trey. Said he was young, maybe 25, had a scar on his jaw. Rafiel's expression darkened. Trey Mason. You know him? I know of him. Rafiel turned off the recorder. He runs the West Side crew. Answers to someone bigger. Someone I've been looking for. Who? Rafiel didn't answer. Just stood, walked to the window, looked out at the cemetery below. There's a hierarchy in this city, he said quietly. Small crews like West Side do the dirty work, but they don't make decisions. Someone above them gives orders. And that person, he paused. That person has been moving in the shadows for years, hurting people, covering tracks, staying untouchable. Kalia stood. And you think Darian's death connects to them? I know it does. Rafiel turned. Because my son's death does too. The room went silent. Calia's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying the same person ordered both hits, Raphael said. Different crews, different reasons, but the same hand pulling the strings. Who? Raphael's eyes were cold. Empty. I'm gonna find out. He pulled his phone from his pocket, dialed, waited. A voice answered. Calia couldn't hear what they said. Raphael spoke low. I need everything you have on Trey Mason. Where he lives, who he talks to, who pays him, and I need it by tonight. He hung up, looked at Calia. You did good, he said. Go home. Stay there. Don't go anywhere alone. Why? What's happening? Raphael's jaw tightened. Trey Mason is about to have a very bad day. Calia's stomach dropped. You're going after him? Yes. What if he kills you? Raphael almost smiled. He won't. How do you know? Because I've been killing men like him since before he was born. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Final. Calia backed toward the door. I don't want to know what happens next. You won't, Raphael said. That's the deal. She left, but as she walked down the hallway, past the photographs of dead men in suits, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just set something in motion she couldn't stop. And somewhere in the city, a man named Trey Mason had no idea a storm was coming. What would you do if you discovered your grief was just one thread in a web of violence you never saw coming? The gun was already on the table when Trey Mason walked in. He stopped, hand halfway to his waistband, eyes locked on the weapon, then on the man sitting behind it. Raphael didn't move, just watched, patient, like he had all the time in the world. You can reach for yours if you want, Raphael said. Voice calm, but you won't be fast enough. Trey's jaw worked. The scar on his face, white line cutting from ear to chin, twitched. He was young, 26 maybe. Confidence built on fear, on hurting people weaker than him. He wasn't weak now, but he wasn't stupid either. He raised his hands. Slow. I don't know who you think you are. Sit. Trey sat. They were in a warehouse. Empty. Cold. Metal beams overhead. Concrete floor stained with things Trey probably didn't want to think about. His crew was outside, tied up, gagged, alive. For now, Raphael had made sure they watched him walk in, made sure they knew what was coming. You beat a man named Darian Cross, Raphael said. 2 years ago. Do you remember? Trey's eyes flickered. I don't know what you're talking about. You put in the hospital. He died a month ago. Brain damage for what you did. Trey's throat bobbed. Man, I don't know no Darian. Raphael picked up the gun. Didn't point it, just held it. Let Trey see his finger resting near the trigger. Let me be clear, Raphael said. I didn't come here for lies. I came here for names. Give them to me, and you walk out. Lie to me, and you don't. Trey's hands curled into fists. You can't just. I already did. Raphael's voice dropped. Your crew is outside. Your phone is on the table. No one's coming to help you. So answer the question. Who told you to hurt Darian Cross? Sweat beaded on Trey's forehead. He glanced at the door, at the gun, at Raphael's face. Finally, he whispered, It wasn't my call. Whose was it? Man upstairs. We just do what we're told. What man? Trey shook his head. I don't know his real name. We call him Bishop. He runs things, gives orders through a middleman. We never see him. Raphael leaned forward. But you know who the middleman is. Trey hesitated, then nodded. Name? Kian Dubois. He's the one who told us to grab Darian. Said the guy was making noise, refusing orders. Needed to be taught a lesson. Raphael's blood went cold. Kian Dubois. He knew that name, knew the man. Kian worked for someone Raphael had been hunting for 3 years. Someone who'd ordered the hit on his son. Where is Kian now? Raphael asked. I don't know. He moves around. Different spots every week. Guess. Trey swallowed. Last I heard, he was at a club. East Side. Place called Sicilian. Raphael stood. Slid the gun into his waistband. Walked toward the door. Trey exhaled. Started to stand. Raphael stopped. Turned back. One more thing. Trey froze. If you ever touch another person who says no to you, Raphael said quietly, I'll come back. And next time, I won't ask questions. He left. Behind him, Trey collapsed into the chair, shaking. Outside, Raphael's men waited. Silent, efficient, They'd already cleaned up, already erased the night from existence. Rafael climbed into his SUV, pulled out his phone, dialed. A voice answered. "Yeah. I need you to find Kian Du Bois," Rafael said, "and I need you to bring him to me alive." He hung up, stared out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, the man who killed his son was breathing, laughing, living, not for much longer. Would you hunt the man who destroyed your family, even if it meant becoming the monster he always said you were? Kalia was folding laundry when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello, it's me." Rafael's voice. "Hello, tired." Kalia's chest tightened. "What happened?" "I found the man who gave the order." Her hands went still. "And I'm going after him tonight." Silence stretched between them. Kalia sank onto the couch. Laundry forgotten. "Why are you telling me?" she whispered. "Because if something goes wrong," Rafael said, "you need to know what to do." "What do you mean?" "There's an envelope in my office. Top drawer. Left side. It has your name on it. If I don't come back, it's yours." "What's in it?" "Money. Enough to disappear. To take Lucan somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find you." Kalia's throat closed. "You think they'll come after me?" "If I fail, yes." "Then don't go." Rafael was quiet for a moment. "Then I have to." "Why?" "What's worth dying for?" "Justice," he said simply, "and making sure no one else loses what we did." Tears burned Kalia's eyes. "You don't owe me anything." "I owe Darian." His voice cracked. "Just slightly. I promised to protect him. I failed. I'm not failing again." Kalia wiped her eyes. "What do you want me to say?" "Nothing." Rafael exhaled. "I just wanted you to know, in case." The line went dead. Kalia stared at her phone, then at Lucan, asleep in his crib across the room. She thought about Darian, about the last time she saw him alive, the way he'd squeezed her hand, whispered sorry. She thought about Rafael, a man who'd lost his son, who carried guilt like a second skin. And she thought about the envelope, the escape plan, the life she could build if she ran. But she didn't want to run. Not anymore. She picked up her phone, dialed the number Rafael had called from. It rang and rang. No answer. She tried again. Nothing. Panic clawed at her chest. She grabbed her jacket, her keys, Lucan's diaper bag, then stopped. Where'd she even go? She didn't know where Rafael was. Didn't know how to find him. She sank back onto the couch, helpless. And that's when she remembered. The recorder. The interview. Rafael had mentioned a club. Obsidian. Kalia pulled up her phone. Searched for it. Found an address. She shouldn't go. She knew that. But she grabbed Lucan anyway, strapped him into his carrier, and headed for the door. If Rafael was walking into a trap, he wasn't doing it alone. What would you risk for someone who'd already risked everything for you? The club was loud. Music pounded through the walls. Bass shook the ground. Neon lights cut through the dark like knives. Kalia stood outside, Lucan strapped to her chest. She looked completely out of place. A woman in jeans and a hoodie. A baby against her heart. Fear written all over her face. Security at the door eyed her. "You lost." "I'm looking for someone," Kalia said. "Aren't we all?" The guard smirked. "Move along. Please. It's important." "Lady, I don't care. Get out of here before." A voice cut through the noise. "Let her through." The guard turned. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, dark skin, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. Kian Du Bois. Kalia recognized him from Darian's descriptions. The middleman, the one who gave orders. Her blood went ice cold. Kian smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You're Kalia Monroe." It wasn't a question. "How do you know my name?" she whispered. "Because I've been expecting you." Kian gestured inside. "Come, we need to talk." "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Then your friend dies." Kian pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. Rafael, hands zip-tied, kneeling, blood on his face. Kalia's world tilted. "He walked right into it," Kian said. "Thought he was hunting me. Didn't realize I was hunting him." Kalia's hand shook. Lucan started to fuss. She bounced him. "Try to think. Try to breathe." "What do you want?" she asked. "Information." Kian pocketed his phone. Rafael's been asking questions, poking around. "I need to know what you told him." "Nothing. I don't know anything." "Liar." Kian stepped closer. "Darian talked to you. Told you things. Names. places, and you passed it all to Raphael. Darian didn't tell me anything. He was trying to protect me. Funny. Kian tilted his head. That's exactly what Raphael said. Calia's breath caught. Is he alive? For now. Kian smiled. But that depends on you. What do you want me to do? Come inside. Answer my questions. And maybe... I'll let both of you walk out. Calia looked at Lucan, at his tiny face, his innocent eyes. She thought about Darian, about Raphael, about all the men who tried to protect her and failed. Then she made a choice. Okay, she whispered. I'll come. Kian's smile widened. Smart girl. He led her inside, through the club, past dancing bodies and flashing lights, down a hallway, to a back room. The door opened. Raphael was there, kneeling, hands bound, 2 men standing behind him with guns. His eyes met Calia's, widened. What are you doing here? Saving you, she said. Kian laughed. Isn't that sweet? He pushed Calia into the room, closed the door. Now, let's talk. But before he could say another word, Lucan started crying. Loud, high-pitched, the kind of cry that cuts through everything. Kian winced. Shut that baby up. Calia rocked Lucan. I'm trying. Try harder. Raphael's eyes locked on Calia's. And in that moment, she saw it. A plan. A signal. He shifted his weight, just slightly, drew the guard's attention. You made a mistake bringing her here, Raphael said quietly. Kian turned. What? I said. Raphael moved. Fast. Spun. Slammed his shoulder into the guard's stomach. The man stumbled. Gun clattered to the floor. Raphael rolled. Grabbed it. Fired. The second guard dropped. Kian reached for his weapon. Calia lunged. Shoved him. He fell. Hit the wall. Raphael was on him in seconds. Gun pressed to Kian's temple. Don't move, Raphael growled. Kian froze. Calia stood, trembling. Lucan still crying. Her ears ringing from the gunshot. Raphael looked at her. You shouldn't have come. I know, but thank you. Kian spat blood. You think this changes anything? You think killing me stops what's coming? Raphael's finger tightened on the trigger. Who's Bishop? Kian laughed, coughed. You'll never find him. He's a ghost. And even if you did, he grinned through broken teeth. He's already won. What does that mean? It means your son didn't die because of business. Kian's eyes gleamed. He died because Bishop wanted him to, because it would hurt you, break you. And it did, didn't it? Raphael's face went white. Kian kept talking. Bishop doesn't kill for money. He kills for sport, for control. And you, he laughed again. You're his favorite game. Raphael pulled the trigger. The sound exploded through the room. Kian slumped. Gone. Silence fell. Calia stared. Lucan's cries faded to whimpers. Raphael stood, dropped the gun, looked at his hands. We need to leave, he said. Calia nodded. Couldn't speak. They ran. What do you do when you discover revenge is just another trap? They didn't stop running until they reached Raphael's car. He drove. Fast. Silent. Knuckles white on the steering wheel. Blood still on his shirt. Calia sat in the passenger seat. Lucan strapped in the back. She stared out the window, watched the city blur past. Finally, she spoke. What did he mean? About your son being a game? Raphael's jaw tightened. It means I've been chasing the wrong enemy. What? I thought my son died because of business. A rival. A war. He exhaled. But it wasn't. It was personal. Someone wanted to hurt me. And they did it by taking the only thing I loved. Calia's chest ached. Who would do that? Someone I trusted. Raphael's voice cracked. Someone I called brother. The car went quiet. Calia looked at him. Really looked. Saw the exhaustion. The guilt. The rage that had nowhere left to go. What are you going to do? She whispered. I'm going to find him. Raphael's eyes stayed on the road. And I'm going to end this. And then what? Then it's over. Is it? Calia's voice rose. You think killing one more person is going to bring them back? You think revenge is going to fix what's broken? No. Raphael's voice was cold. But it's all I have left. Calia shook her head. Tears spilled down her cheeks. That's not true. What else is there? Us. She gestured to the back seat. To Lucan. We're still here. We're still alive. And maybe that's enough. Raphael pulled over. Stopped the car. Put his head in his hands. For a long moment, He didn't move, just breathed. Then he whispered, "I don't know how to stop." "Then let me help you." He looked at her, eyes red, raw. "Why?" he asked. "Why do you care?" "Because you cared about Darian." Callia's voice broke. "Because you're trying to protect Lucan." "And because," she wiped her eyes. "Because I think you're a good man pretending to be a monster." Raphael laughed, bitter. "You don't know me. I know enough." Silence stretched between them, heavy, fragile. Finally, Raphael started the car again. "I'm taking you somewhere safe." "Where?" "Away from here. Away from all of this." "What about you?" "I'm finishing what I started." "Raphael, it's not a choice, Callia." His voice was firm, final. "As long as Bishop is alive, you're not safe. Lucan's not safe. I have to end this." Callia stared at him. "And if you die, then you use that envelope. And you run." "I don't want to run." "You don't have a choice." The car pulled up to a building. Secure. Gated. Raphael got out. "Open her door." "You'll stay here tonight," he said. "My people will watch over you." Callia climbed out, unstrapped Lucan, held him close. Raphael looked at the baby, reached out, touched his tiny hand. Lucan's fingers curled around his. Something in Raphael's face cracked. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for all of this." Callia's throat closed. "Just come back." Raphael met her eyes. "I'll try." He walked away, and Callia stood there, watching him disappear into the night, wondering if she'd ever see him again. Would you let someone walk into death to protect you? Or would you follow them into the fire? 3 days passed. Callia didn't hear from Raphael. She stayed in the safe house, paced, fed Lucan. Try not to think about bullets and blood and men who played games with lives. On the 4th day, someone knocked on the door. She froze, heart pounding. The knock came again. "It's me," Raphael's voice. Callia ran to the door, threw it open. He stood there, bruised, exhausted, but alive. "You came back," she breathed. "I told you I'd try." She wanted to hug him, punch him, scream at him. Instead, she just stepped aside. "Let him in." Raphael walked to the couch. "Saturday." Drop his head back. "Is it over?" Callia asked. "Yes." "Did you find him?" "Bishop." Raphael nodded. "I found him. And he's dead." The words hung in the air. Cold. Final. Callia sat beside him. "How do you feel?" Raphael was quiet for a long time. Then, "Empty." "Good," Callia whispered. "That means you're human." He looked at her. "I don't know what happens now. We figured out." She reached for his hand. Squeezed. Together. Raphael stared at their joined hands. "You don't have to stay. I know. You could take the money, disappear, build a life far from me. I could." Callia's eyes filled with tears. "But I won't." "Why?" "Because you're not done protecting us." She looked at Lucan, at Raphael, and "I'm not done trusting you." Raphael's jaw worked. "I don't deserve that." "Maybe not." Callia smiled through her tears. "But you're going to get it anyway." They sat in silence, exhausted, broken, but alive. Lucan stirred, reached out. His tiny hand grabbed Raphael's finger. Raphael looked at the baby, at this small life that had survived so much. "I'm going to make sure he grows up safe," Raphael said quietly. "No gangs, no violence, no fear. Ow! I'm going to change things." Raphael's voice was steady, certain. "Use my power for something other than revenge. Build something better. For him. For you. For all the people this city forgot." Callia's breath caught. "You mean that?" "I do." She leaned her head on his shoulder, felt him stiffen, then relax. "What am I to you?" she whispered. Raphael was quiet. Then, "Someone worth protecting." "And what are you to me?" He smiled, just slightly. "I don't know yet." "Then I guess we'll figure that out too." Outside, the city stretched below them, lights flickering, lives moving, a world that kept spinning no matter how much blood was spilled. But in this room, in this moment, 2 people sat together, bound by grief, by loss, by something that wasn't love yet, but might be someday. And for now, that was enough. Raphael looked at Lucan, at Callia, at the future he'd almost thrown away chasing ghosts. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For reminding me what I was fighting for." Callia closed her eyes. "Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning." "I know." And somewhere in the distance, dawn broke. light spilling over the horizon. A new day, a new chance, a new story waiting to be written. 6 months later, Callia stood at the cemetery gates with Lucan on her hip. The morning air was crisp, leaves turning gold and red. The kind of autumn day that felt like the world was exhaling after holding its breath too long. She walked the familiar path, past rows of stones, past names she'd learned by heart from her months working here. She stopped at 2 graves side by side. Darian Cross, Luca Moretti. Fresh flowers sat at both. White lilies. Someone had been here already. "Your daddy would be proud of you," Callia whispered to Lucan. "You're getting so big." The baby babbled, reached for the flowers. Footsteps crunched behind her. She turned. Raphael walked toward them. No suit today, just jeans and a dark jacket. He looked different, lighter somehow, like he'd finally set down a weight he'd been carrying for years. "I thought I'd find you here," he said. Callia smiled. "You always do." He stood beside her, looked at the graves. "I brought someone to meet them." Callia's brow furrowed. "Who?" Raphael gestured behind him. A girl emerged from between the headstones. 12 years old, dark curly hair. Darian's eyes. Callia's breath stopped. "This is Amara," Raphael said quietly. "Darian's daughter, from before he met you." The girl stepped forward, shy, uncertain. "Hi." Callia's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know he had." "Neither did I," Raphael said. "Not until I started digging into his past. Her mother died 2 years ago. She's been in foster care ever since." Callia looked at Amara, at this piece of Darian she never knew existed. "Does she know?" Callia whispered. "About Lucan?" Raphael nodded. "She knows, and she wants to meet her brother." Amara knelt down, looked at Lucan. "Hey, little man." Lucan giggled, reached for her. Amara's face broke into a smile, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He looks just like Dad." Callia's heart cracked open. "He does." Raphael cleared his throat. "I've arranged for Amara to stay with us, if that's okay with you." Callia looked at him. "Us?" "Yeah." Raphael's voice was soft. "I bought a house, big enough for all of us. Safe neighborhood, good schools." He paused. "I want to do this right. Build something real. A family." Callia's tears spilled over. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" "I'm asking if you'll let me try." Raphael met her eyes. "To be the man you see when you look at me, not the monster I was." Callia reached for his hand. "You were never a monster, just a father who lost his way. And now you're finding it again." Amara stood, holding Lucan. The baby grabbed her nose. She laughed, real and bright and alive. Raphael watched them, then looked at Callia. "I can't promise it'll be easy," he said. "I don't need easy." Callia squeezed his hand. "I just need real. Then that's what I'll give you." They stood together. For people bound by loss, by blood, by choices that led them to this exact moment. The wind picked up, leaves scattered across the graves. And somewhere above them, maybe Darian was watching. Maybe Luca was too. 2 boys who died too young, but whose love created something neither violence nor death could destroy. A family, broken, healing, but together. Raphael looked at the headstones one last time. "I won't let them down again." "You won't," Callia whispered. "Because this time, you're not alone." Amara walked over, handed Lucan back to Callia. "Can we come back next week? I want to tell Dad about school." "Of course," Callia said. "We'll come every week. All of us." Amara looked at Raphael. He nodded. "All of us." They walked back through the cemetery together, past the grief, past the ghosts, toward the car waiting at the gate, toward home. And for the first time in years, Raphael felt something he thought he'd lost forever. Hope, not the loud kind. Not the kind that erased pain or pretended the past didn't happen, but the quiet kind. The kind that said maybe, just maybe, there was still time to get it right. Behind them, the graves stood silent, witnesses to everything. And ahead of them, the world waited, full of possibility, full of second chances, full of life. Thank you for taking this journey with us. Stories like these remind us that even in our darkest moments, we're never truly alone. If this touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that moves, inspires, and reminds us of our shared humanity. Drop a comment below. Tell us what this story meant to you. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And together, we create something beautiful from the broken pieces. See you in the next one.